Hey guys and girls out there in MIDI Guitar land. You probably already know that about 2 weeks ago, MIDI Guitar version 3.0.61 was released. And there were a handful of new features in that, which have already been covered in another great video by Lo-Fi Leaf. I'm not going to rehash everything that he's already gone over. I just want to look at one of the really cool features, which is something which I'm quite excited about because it really kind of takes the abilities of MIDI Guitar 3 to the next level when you're using it in the Hex tracker mode. Now, I'm a long time Hex pickup user and I've used all the Roland and Boss gear over the years, and I'm currently using an SY1000 as my primary device in conjunction with the GK pickup, which is built into this guitar. So if you've ever checked out my channel before, you probably know that I'm a pretty mad Holdsworth fan. So I've got some interest in some of the tunings that he kind of used, particularly on the SynthAxe. I'm probably never ever going to play SynthAxe, and that's fine. I'm really happy playing guitar. But I've kind of like taken some steps with the Boss gear and MIDI Guitar 3 in combination to kind of get some pretty cool results. So I'm just going to show you some of the different tunings that I've managed to pull out. There's a bit behind the setup here, and if anybody's interested, ask and maybe I'll make another video about it, but it's quite involved, and so I'm not going to go into every single aspect of it now. I'm using Ableton Live, I'm using MIDI Guitar 3 standalone, and I'm using the SY1000 to control all that. The SY1000 is a really important piece of the puzzle. I really don't like the SY1000's pitch to MIDI conversion. It's substandard for a box that costs this much and for a company that claims to be at the bleeding edge of this technology. So I turned the pitch to MIDI off in the SY1000, and I'm simply using MIDI Guitar 3 to do any of the conversion in there. So the cool new feature with the Hex tracker in MIDI Guitar 3 is that we now have this module called the String Tuning module. The String Tuning module enables us to take the Hex input and retune each of the strings. So you can see in this particular instance, I'm retuning string 1 to -24 semitones and string 6 to +24, string 2 to -14, string 5 to +14, string 3 to -5, and string 4 to +5. You might recognize that as reverse tuning. I've also got fourths here. You can see it's +1 semitone on the first and second string, and fifths tuning here, which -11 on the sixth, -9 on the fifth, -7 on the fourth, -5 on the third, and -2 on the second. The first string has no modification. Now I'm using Ableton Live with some program change automation, which is being sent out here over a virtual MIDI channel created by the IAC driver to MIDI Guitar 3. You can see I've got the input on MIDI Guitar 3 here set to IAC driver DAW MIDI IO. You can make virtual MIDI ports in the audio MIDI settings of Mac OS. And I've got some more program change clips here, which are sending to the SY1000, which receives on channel 2. Now I've only set this up as a really simple demonstration just to show you how powerful MIDI Guitar 3 is in combination with the SY1000, and also to show you how good the pitch to MIDI conversion is here. So I'm just going to run through the different tunings, and all I'm going to do is play a C major scale. I'll point out one little issue which comes up, which I'm hoping that the developer will have a look at sometime soon. But as you all know, this is in beta, and you know, if we just give it some time, it will get there. It's coming along real nicely. So I'm going to start with standard tuning. So with standard, I'm using the Axe effects. I'm using like a digital reamping kind of thing here. And so you're going to hear the guitar sound, or the amp simulated guitar sound on the left channel, and you're going to hear wavetable, which is just a native synthesizer from Ableton Live here. It's an MPE synthesizer, and you're going to hear that panned all the way to the right. Okay, I'm just going to play through some scales just so you can hear how it's working. Keep an eye on the left-hand side here, and you'll see the presets changing whenever I change a scene in Ableton Live. Okay, so if you're watching my left hand, you could see when I started on the first one, I was just using a regular fingering. When I went to the second one, I was using a reverse fingering, so I was playing from the top string. Oops. Very confusing, but something that I'm working on. Fourths. And fifths, my nemesis. Okay, so you can see that, it probably on one level sounds like a little bit mundane to the, to the ear at this point, but the idea is that you now have access to all these different tunings. So I am really interested in learning to improvise with the guitar tuned in fifths and fourths and reverse tuning. And I have a lot of this programmed in standard tuning already. But I find that working in these different tunings kind of actually makes me play a little bit better in standard tuning when I come back to it. So that's one of the reasons that I'm interested in it. But also it's just because it gives you a different kind of approach to getting certain kind of like intervallic combinations. I have it on authority from the developer also that at some point in the future that pitch shifting for the audio signals coming into MIDI Guitar 3 will also be available for the Hex tracker, which is another exciting thing, which will mean that for guitar players who are using a Hex pickup and a breakout box, not even having to use an SY1000 or a device which can actually do some of the outboard retuning stuff, that'll be a really exciting advance. So something that no one has been talking about, but it's actually really quite an important thing, is that the new version of MIDI Bass 3 has an enhanced tracker. And that tracker has a test mode for guitar players, which you can access under the settings here. Now, I'm going to leave this in bass mode because with bass mode active, you can still play guitar into it and it can track down pretty low. So I'm just going to take this fifth tuning again. Okay, standard tuning, the guitar would normally be tuned from E2 through to E4 in terms of the open strings. So you can hear that when I play, I'm just going to deactivate the synth for a second. The note that I'm playing here is a low F. Now it could be a bit confusing if you can hear the audio coming through the microphone from my guitar strings because, like I was saying before, this tuning is virtual. It's all done with pitch shifters inside the device or inside MIDI Guitar 3. But the acoustic sound of the string in the room is still playing at its original pitch. Okay, so this is working exactly the same as MIDI Guitar 3, but we've just got an extended range tracker now. So the most important thing to note here is I am not using the Hex tracker anymore. I'm using the regular input from the guitar, but this is an emulated guitar which is tuned down almost an octave. So it's very close to a bass range, and that means if I can do that with this guitar, you can do that with any guitar. You can have a 7-string and 8-string guitar, in those typical tunings, and it's still going to be in tracking range for MIDI Bass 3. So I think that's pretty neat. So I hope you found this interesting. I know it's not a really, really deep look into things, but it's a really, really useful tool, the Hex tracker, and it's the ultimate. So I've just jumped back over to the Hex tracker and I'm just going to have a little bit of a waffle around in these different tunings, but I'm going to point something out while I'm going. So did you hear that? Once I activated the preset, of course, the SY1000 is there from the very first moment, but there's something happening with the output in MIDI Guitar 3, the virtual MIDI output. It's taking some time to register, which means that there's around about a 3.5 second gap between your playing and when the MIDI starts. We'll try again. So it's already been loaded, so it's fine now. But as soon as I change to a different tuning, you can hear that it's taking a little time for the MIDI to start coming through. So this is a really great feature. A lot of people have been asking for the extended range to come in. There is one other thing. If you go up to the very, very top end of the guitar, so one of the great things about MIDI Guitar 3 is that it tracks all the way up to the high E. So that's the 24th fret on the first string. Now when you go up to the F beyond that, it's dropping down. So most guitars don't have extra frets, but my guitar has a 26 fret range, so I just happened to notice it when I got up to the very top of the guitar. That's another thing that might be worth addressing, but it's not going to be relevant to most guitars. Okay, so there it is. If you haven't already got onto the beta, get out there, get into it, have fun with it. It's such an awesome tool for guitar players, especially for guitar players with Hex pickups in their instruments, but also for just all guitar players. And I think that was demonstrated by the point when I was using that emulated detuned guitar straight into the bass tracker. It was really, it's really tracking well. Okay, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care out there, everyone. See you later.